Today I'm going to take up The Necklace by Guy de Maupassant. So, first of all, let's have a look at his life and works. Guy de Maupassant, he was born in Dieppe in France and he died on July 6, 1893, in Paris. He was a French naturalist, writer of short stories and novels, and by general agreement, he is the greatest French short story writer. His father, a Libertine with a roving disposition, and his mother were legally separated when Guy was still a boy, and he spent a carefree adolescence under the indulgent surveillance of his cultivated mother. When he reached man's estate, the place of his father was to some extent taken by the novelist Gustave Flaubert, who had been a close friend of Madame de Maupassant for many years. Now, if you look at his works, the collection of short stories and novels followed one another in quick succession until illness struck Maupassant down. 2 years saw six new books of short stories: Mademoiselle Fifi, Comtesse de la Bécasse, Claire de Lune, Les Soeurs Randolli, that's the Rondoli sisters, Wet Yvette, and Miss Harriet. The stories can be divided into groups: those dealing with the Franco German War, the Norman peasantry, the bureaucracy, life on the banks of the Seine River, the emotional problems of the different social classes, and somewhat ominously in a late story, such as Les Horla, that is about hallucination. Together, the stories present a comprehensive picture of French life from 1870 to 1890. If we look at the novels, the most important full length novels are Une Vie and Belle Amie, that is Good Friend, and Pire et Jean. Belle Amie is drawn from the author's observation of the world of sharp businessmen and cynical journalists in Paris, and it is a scathing satire on a society whose members let nothing stand in the way of their ambition to get rich quick. Belle Amie, the amiable but amoral hero of the novel, has become a standard literary personification of an ambitious opportunist. Pire et Jean is the tale of a man's tragic jealousy of his half brother. Henry James described Maupassant as a lion in the path, meaning that he represented a formidable barrier to the development of a morally significant literature. Now, there was a lot of influence of Flaubert on Maupassant. Under Flaubert's tutelage, the young Maupassant underwent a strict course of training in the craft of literature at the same time as he was earning his living in the civil service. He became known to members of the naturalist school and collaborated with Zola and four of his disciples in producing in 1880 a volume of short stories about the Franco-Prussian War entitled Soirees de Medan. Maupassant's contribution, Bold de Suif, was so superior to the others that his reputation was made on the spot. In succeeding years, his stories were in great demand for newspaper publications in the first instance. Collected, they eventually provided material for something like 16 volumes. Now, if we look at the subjects and themes of the various novels and stories, Maupassant drew on his experiences as a boy among the farming folk and fishermen of Normandy, and also on the observations he made of his colleagues and superiors when he was working as a government official in Paris. Though it was Balzac who first introduced the lowly clerks into literature, it was Maupassant who explored every aspect of the lives of these underpaid bureaucrats. Maupassant's humor is sometimes racy but more often bitter. The famous whiplash ending which he invented can be cruel in the extreme. His work as a whole is permeated by irony and pessimism. Humanity is shown motivated more by greed and snobbery than by any finer passions. Some of his later stories dealing with eerie hallucinations reflect the breakdown in Maupassant's mental health, attributable to syphilis. In the last 18 months of his life, he was confined to a sanatorium for the insane, where he died on July 6, 1893. Now, before we start this particular story, we are going to discuss the parts of a story. Now, parts of a story basically are six. Firstly, setting, then we have plot, conflict, character, point of view, and theme. Now, when we're talking about the setting, it deals with the time and location of the story. Plot deals with the sequence of events. Conflict is the opposition of forces. Character is a person and his characteristics. Point of view is the angle from which the story is told. And theme, obviously, is the central idea or belief. Now, taking up this particular story, the necklace, let's first see the main characters. So, main characters here are Mr. Loisel and Madame Matilde Loisel. And she has a friend who plays the minor character here, Madame Jean Forestier. The location for the story is Martyr Street in Paris. The time is 1884, and most of the things happen in the apartment, Loisel's apartment. The rest of the things happen in the Minister of Education's mansion, where obviously the party takes place. Now, look at the plot. So, first, let's look at the characters and try to know them before getting into the plot. So, first, let's take Mr. Loisel. Mr. Loisel is a very satisfied individual. He is self-sacrificing. He has great love for his wife Matilde, and he understood his wife's desires and dissatisfactions. He could understand that she was not happy with the kind of life he was able to give her. And in spite of everything, even towards the end of the story, where we find him suffering without having committed a mistake, he never blames his wife. Looking at Madame Loisel, we find she is very beautiful, but a person who is highly dissatisfied with life. She has desire for wealth. She wants to live in high society. She actually uses her husband to get a nice dress for herself, to get introduced to high society, to be appreciated, all those things for which she always craved and which she never got. And she was very jealous by nature, and she was jealous of her friend Madame Jean Forestier, who had everything which she herself didn't have. Madame Jean Forestier was a rich lady, elegant and very condescending. When Matilda goes to her for a jewel, she brings the entire box and she says, "You can pick and choose." Now let's have a look at the plot, the main plot. The main plot revolves around the fact that the beginning tells us that Matilde Loisel was very dissatisfied with her life, and it happens that one day her husband brings in an invitation which was from the Minister of Education, and there was a party at his house, and so he thinks that his wife will be very excited to go to the party, but the opposite happens. She throws away the invitation and she says, "I don't have a dress to wear for the party." So we find that her husband asks her how much would a good decent dress cost, and she says 400 francs. And this was the exact amount which the husband had gathered for a gun which he wanted to purchase to go hunting with his friends on the plains of Nanterre. But he is so obliging. He says, "Okay, you can have this 400 francs and get a good dress for yourself." Days pass by and we find that this lady again starts behaving odd. And when he asks her what was the matter, she says, "I don't have a piece of jewelry to go with the dress." And so he says, "Why don't you go and purchase some flowers for yourself for 10 francs?" But she is not satisfied with the idea. So it's he who gives her the idea that you go to your friend and Mrs. Jean Forestier and ask her for some jewelry, borrow it from her, and then you give it back to her. So she goes to her friend, and her friend brings her everything she had, and she chooses a piece of diamond which she wanted to wear on her dress, and her friend is very condescending and she says, yes, why not, you can have this." So she takes the piece of jewelry and she attends the ball. She is a big success at the ball. Everybody wants to be introduced to her, everybody wishes to dance with her, and she keeps on enjoying herself. And the poor husband, he's so tired, he goes off to sleep at 12, but she continues to enjoy the party, and they come out finally at 4 a.m. And when they come out, they cannot find a cab, and they walk towards the Seine River, and there they get a coup where a very small kind of a conveyance, and they get into it, and they get back to their apartment, and there she wants to have a last look at herself because she felt this was the kind of evening she had always wanted, and she takes out her shawl, which is described as very modest. It was a daily use kind of a shawl wrap, where all the other women had costly furs to wrap around themselves, and when she removes it, she finds that the diamond necklace was gone, and she lets out a scream, tells her husband about it, and just flops into the chair. She is so shocked and she doesn't know what to do, and Mr. Loisel, he goes back and he keeps walking throughout the entire place where they had been walking, trying to find it. Next day, he goes to the police station. He goes everywhere just to find that necklace. And Madame Loisel is described as sitting on the chair without ambition or thoughts. She had no ambition now because she knew what was going to happen because of the loss of the diamond necklace. Mr. Loisel, he went to the cab office, he went to the police station, he announced a reward. He did everything he could imagine to do just to get the necklace back. But then, after a few days, they were sure that they had lost it. So what he did was, using a bit of presence of mind, he said, write a letter to your friend Mrs. Forestier and tell her that the clasp of the necklace is broken and so you are going to return it in a week's time. So she did so. Loisel, at the end of the week, he looked older by 5 years. He was so devastated by what was going to happen now. They started searching for the diamond, that kind of a diamond necklace, something that would look close to it. So at Palais Royal, they found a shop which had a necklace of the same sort, and it cost 40,000 francs. And the shopkeeper, he said he would allow a discount and he would give it to them at 36,000 francs. So they requested the jeweler not to sell it for the next 3 days, and also that if they found the original one by the end of February, the shopkeeper would return that. Now, how did they manage 36,000 francs, which was a huge amount? So Loisel himself, he had 18,000 francs with him, which his father had left for him as a property. So the rest of the money he borrowed recklessly, 1,000 francs from someone, 500 from someone, signing, promising bonds, and he compromised his whole existence. Now, after this, they had to make a lot of changes in their lifestyle. Matilde Loisel, she had to send away the maid. They had to change their house. They rented some rooms under a mansard roof. She learned to wash utensils, clothes, mop floors. She carried water. She went to the butcher's place, grocer's place, and haggled until the last sou just to try and save some money. Mr. Loisel, for no fault of his, he kept on working throughout the day. In the evening, he would go and work for some merchants and try to fix up their account book. At night, he would copy for people at 5 sous a page, and this went on for 10 years. And 10 years of their life was simply wasted away just because Mrs. Loisel was a dissatisfied lady, just because Mrs. Loisel wanted to look beautiful for one evening, because she wanted appreciation, and then she was careless. Now, after 10 years, what happens? One day, Mrs. Loisel was just walking. Everything, after 10 years, all the money had been paid back, and they didn't owe anyone anything. But then Mrs. Loisel started looking much older, and walking on a Sunday in the Champs-Élysées, just a park kind of a thing, she was walking and she found whom? Mrs. Jean Forestier walking with a child. And when Matilda came and greeted her using her first name, Jean, Madame Jean Forestier was very surprised. She could not recognize her friend. So Mrs. Loisel introduced herself, and when her friend heard about what had happened to them for 10 years, she revealed the truth about the necklace. She said it was an imitation. It was not a real diamond at all. It was actually an imitation that cost nothing more than 500 francs. And the shock is so obvious. We can just understand the reaction of Matilde Loisel there. Now, if we look at the themes that the story proposes, firstly is you are what you possess inside you, not what you wear on the outside. What you are from inside decides the person you are. If you wear beautiful dresses and on the inside you are not beautiful, then there's no use wearing beautiful dresses. Secondly, appearances are deceptive. Matilde thought that the necklace was genuine, but it was not. She thought people at the party were all genuine, high-class people. Actually, they were also not. And she herself, she was not what she was pretending to be at the party. Thirdly, honesty and humility make a man. If you are honest, you are humble, you are a true man. And fourthly, things don't have to be costly to be beautiful. Simple things also can be beautiful. And this story is a wonderful example of situational irony, where the outcome of the story is contrary to what we would expect it to be logically. So we did never expected that the end would be so drastic. Nobody would ever have thought that the diamond necklace, the loss for which the two Loisels spent 10 years paying off the amount, would actually end up to be a fake one. Now, if you have any questions based on this story, you may put it in the segment below and I shall do my best to answer them. Thank you.